we'll go up the exotically named Khyber Pass, a road forged into the cliffside in 1848 by the railway king George Hudson. Following the decline of the whaling industry in the early 1800s, Hudson planned to revitalise Whitby as a seaside resort. He began by buying up all the land on the West Cliff, where he began to build hotels, including the Royal. The Khyber Pass was used to transport the building materials, which had arrived by sea all the way up to Westcliff. When the building work was finished, it provided a good route down to the town for the holidaymakers staying at the hotels above. On the left, the little tunnel called Hudson's Fall was built in the form of a miniature railway tunnel at the request of George Hudson, simply to make his mark. There's no railway running along it, but if you walk to the other end, you'll be rewarded with a lovely view of the town. Coming up on the left is the only house on the Khyber Pass, called Strenshaw, which is what Whitby was called from AD 657 until the Vikings arrived in AD 867 and renamed the settlement Whitby from the Old Norse for White Settlement. On the right in the garden, the wooden whale sculpture serves as a reminder of Whitby's whaling industry. On the left, the yellow building is the Rosa Hotel, which has a blue plaque saying that Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice in Wonderland and Alice Through the Looking Glass, stayed there occasionally. It was while on the beach in Whitby that Lewis Carroll wrote the famous poem, The Walrus and the Carpenter. We'll soon be approaching the Royal Hotel stop. You may jump ship here for the Royal Hotel, whale bones, the Captain Cook statue and Westcliff area, offering superb views of the Abbey ruins. Please remember to take all your belongings with you when you leave the bus. On the right, the whale arch is the jawbone of the bowhead whale. It was gifted to Whitby by the town of Anchorage in Alaska, which is one of our twin towns. On top of the whale bones is a harpoon pointing out to sea. In the 1800s, whaling was an important industry in Whitby. There were over 20 whaling ships operating from the port, and all the street lights were lit by whale oil. A little further on stands the statue of Captain James Cook. He's not looking out to sea, but in the direction of the South Sea Islands, to which he famously travelled. Although he wasn't born in Whitby, Captain Cook served his merchant navy apprenticeship here. Cook's connection with Whitby doesn't end there. His four famous ships, the Endeavour, the Resolution, the Discovery and the Adventure, were all built in the then thriving shipyards of Whitby, owned by Thomas Fishburne. Cook's ships followed the design of the Whitby Cats, which were built with flat bottoms to serve the alum trade. Their design made them highly suitable for exploration of unknown waters, where there were no harbours. Whitby is one of very few ports on the east coast that face due north, and that's why it's possible during the summer months to see the sun rise and set into the sea. On our left is the Royal Hotel, which is the grandest of those in the town, built by the railway king George Hudson. It was described in 1848 as fitted up in a very splendid manner with every regard to elegance and comfort at a cost of £3,000. In the 1890s, the Irish author Bram Stoker stayed here at the Royal Hotel and drew much inspiration for his novel Dracula from the town. In the book, Dracula leaps from the grounded schooner in the form of a huge dog, heading for the cliff below the churchyard. Just ahead on the right is the Whitby Pavilion, built in 1870, where you can see the latest films as well as enjoy live theatre and music. It's also good for conferences and special occasions such as weddings. To the left is Whitby's Royal Crescent. It should have been a half-circle of Georgian-style dwellings to rival Bath. But unfortunately, George Hudson, the railway king, who was building them, was not a completely honest man. His business dealings were investigated, which forced him into hiding. The crescent was never completed and still stands today only half its property built. Number 6, on the left-hand side, is where Bram Stoker had his first holiday in Whitby in 1890. To the right, the cliff lift will take you with ease down the 120-foot cliff to the beach. At low tide, you can walk all the way along the beach from Whitby's West Pier to Saxonville. It's a distance of just under 3 miles there and back. Our next stop is for the boating lake, mini golf, skate park, leisure centre and the cliff lift to the beach. When leaving the bus, please remember to take all your belongings with you, including grandma. The cliffs ahead are the Kettleness Cliffs, which between 1727 and 1871 used to be mined for their alum. Alum is a red mineral which was used in the tanning industry for dyeing leather.
You alright, Tommy? A bit hot. Do you want to go sit in the shade? Please not in the shade.
As we turn into Argyle Road, you'll see a large building which was formerly the Metropole Hotel. When it was built in 1898, it was the first iron-framed building in Whitby, and the first in the town to have electricity. Although it's since been converted into luxury flats, the original Victorian ballroom has been preserved. Looking down Lady Smith Avenue on the right is the Saxonville Hotel, home for about 6 years to the writer Margaret Storm Jameson. At the far end, you'll see the grandstand of Whitby Town Football Club, who are also known as the Seasides. Just before we turn left at the roundabout, take a look straight ahead down Station Avenue. At the end, you'll see a low red brick building which was once Westcliff Station. The last trains ran along the line from Middlesbrough to Scarborough in May 1958. The buildings are now used as private housing. Ahead on the right are 2 3-storey houses. The long, bottle-shaped window in each house manages to give light to 3 floors, yet remaining 1 window. In 1796, the government of William Pitt brought out a tax on the number of windows you could have, showing that stealth taxes are no new thing. People who couldn't afford to pay the tax, or those who preferred not to, tended to brick their windows up. There were, however, ways of getting round the tax, as demonstrated by these 2 houses. The next stop is for Panet Park, where you can alight for the excellent children's playground, the Panet Art Gallery, Whitby Museum and the Leisure Centre. When leaving the bus, please remember to take all your belongings with you, including the dog. On the left is the site of the original Union Mill, a tower windmill built in the early 1800s. The tower was demolished to the ground floor in 1923, and the remaining mill building is now luxury apartments. As we go round the roundabout, we'll travel down Chubb Hill Road, built in 1886, and on the left is Panet Park. Panet Park is named after Robert Elliott Panet, a solicitor who served the town as a councillor, alderman and justice of the peace, as well as supporting many charities. He bought Chubb Hill Estate, which was then Market Gardens, and arranged in his will for it to become the public park it is today. He also left provision for a building to be erected there to house his collection of art. Coming up on the left, look out for Whitby's floral clock, originally installed in 1953 to mark the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. After a while, it became a normal flower bed, but in 2006, the Friends of Panet Park raised enough money to have the clock reinstated. On the corner to your right is Arundel Hotel. This was owned by many generations of the shipbuilding family, the Campions. Sailmaking and rope making were essential industries within the shipbuilding trade in the 1800s. On the left-hand side of Arundel House, there's a little road leading to a tunnel, which is an area once known for its sailmaking. We're now heading up Prospect Hill. Please be aware of the low branches if you're sitting upstairs. The original owners of the large houses on the right would have enjoyed an excellent view prospect of Whitby. Garden on the right before the junction stands a Chilean pine tree, more commonly known as a monkey puzzle. The mineral jet comes from the fossilised remains of the tree. Jet, once the centre of a big industry in Whitby in the 19th century, can be found along the coast near to Whitby. Approaching Newbridge, where there's a great view of the town on your left. We cannot stop on the bridge, but we'll go as slow as we can, so please have your cameras at the ready. You'll be able to take in the view along the Riveresque towards the harbour and the North Sea. Towering over it all are the ruins of the Abbey. Below, on the left, the flats occupy the site of the Whitehall shipyards, which closed in 1902. As steamships were getting larger during the late 19th century, it was getting harder to transport the steel needed to build them in Whitby. We're turning left into an area called Gallows Close, an area once used as a place of public execution. The bodies of the condemned would not be taken down in a hurry in the hope that the sight of their fate would deter other potential criminals. Coming up on the left, the white building is Whitehall, the old residence of the Turnbull shipbuilding family. The Turnbulls could look from their front window to the shipyard below. During the Second World War, the house became a school until it was shut in 1985. We're about to cross Spittal Bridge, built in the 1930s. The original bridge is on the left. It was named after a leper isolation hospital which stood nearby in 1109 to 1539. This point is thought to have been the first landing place of the Saxons who settled here. During World War II, the bridge's arches were used as air raid shelters. We're now commencing the steep climb up Green Lane. Please be aware of low branches if you're sitting upstairs. Green Lane was known locally at one time as Hearse Road or Corpse Road, and was the route taken by the rich to get to the church graveyard in horse-drawn carriages. The Tour de Yorkshire cycle is also passed along this route. Whitby Regatta is one of the oldest sea regattas in the country. It's been entertaining crowds for over 170 years. Regatta weekend runs annually in August and includes yacht racing, rowing races, street strolls and entertainment. Whitby Golf Weekend, started in 1994, has grown into one of the world's premier golf events and brings thousands of people to the town in April and October. The main music events and trade stalls take place in the Whitby Spa Pavilion. Stones from the Abbey. It is now the home of Whitby Youth Hostel. A tea room is run behind the nearby Abbey Visitor Centre, which houses an interactive exhibition where audio guides are available. Please alight here for the Abbey Ruins and Visitor Centre, St Mary's Church and the Youth Hostel. Please remember to take all your belongings with you. Ahead of us stands St Mary's Church, which can also be reached from the town below by a flight of 199 steps. Sometimes the departed would be carried up these steps to the graveyard instead of coming by road. There are at intervals wider steps with benches which served as coffin rests while the exhausted pallbearers got their breath back. In 2005 the steps were restored. Public fundraising helped raise £200,000 for their restoration. Halfway up the steps is a plaque with a list of the names of people and businesses that sponsored a step. The so-called Donkey Road, or Church Lane, is the cobbled track beside the 199 steps leading to the Abbey, Abbey Plain and House. Pannier ponies were used to carry supplies along the lane up to the Abbey, and it is said that Constantine Phipps of Mulgrave Castle used to be driven up Donkey Road in his coach and 4 horses when he was courting Anne Chomley from Abbey House in the 1780s. The Cape Mon Cross, erected in 1898 near the top of the church stairs, commemorates Cape Mon, the father of English sacred song, who was a Saxon cowherder in St Hilda's Monastery.